And Sarah Bofinger, welcome. How's it going?
Amazing. How about you?
Oh, well, you know,
Good.
I signed my first 2021 check today. Uh,
Amazing.
yeah, I feel like that's one of the good things that's coming out of 2020 is like usually I'll spend 3 months writing the wrong date, the wrong year for dates. And I feel like I'm
hmm
not going to do that for 2020. Like,
That's funny. Yeah, I haven't even either. Like I've been writing in my journal and it's like always like 21, like bam. I wonder what that's about.
yeah, I think it's like really ready to be done with 2020.
2020.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Uh, so what's on your mind? What's been going on?
Well, so I've been really like into grounding, like and sharing with people about the importance of grounding, even if it's like 5 minutes a day. So that can be like meditation or you just like stop and take a breath. Like I just find that when we all collectively just kind of stop and, kind of center ourselves to not thinking about the external, it's really been helping my manifesting abilities and just how I feel
Hmm.
inside,
Hmm.
and I think that's the most important thing. So
Shall we take a moment to do that now?
we should. It's like you read my mind. Do you want me to lead us?
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. So we'll just close our eyes and we're going to take a big inhale together. Two more.
Hmm.
One more. And so now anything that was bothering you or not in this present moment is that's no longer serving you can be now wiped away. And now we are here. You can open your eyes.
Thank you.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah, that brings up two thoughts for me right now. One is I'm working on today's podcast to release, and it's essentially about life after divorce.
Hmm.
And the big idea of the couples therapist that I was talking to is that you can grow by looking back at old relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, hey, someone just said hi, guys, but I don't see the name. So if you want to type your name, we can figure out who you are, or I don't know how you give yourself permission to be seen by us. Um, but hi. Um, and and the idea is that when we don't look back, if we just sort of like lick our wounds and then look forward, we're going to keep making the same mistakes. That there are patterns and templates to the mistakes we make in our life. Brenda, Brenda, Brenda
Brenda!
from NJ. Is that you?
What? Oh my gosh,
Uh,
that's exciting.
yeah. Unless it's not, and then like I've just totally dissed some other Brenda. Like, no, are you excited?
Whatever Brenda it is,
Yeah,
I'm just as excited.
infinite Brendas.
Yes.
NJ, the lunging nurse. Awesome.
Yay!
Um,
The lunging nurse.
so that like at any moment we can sort of begin again, but like one way of beginning is just like shaking it off and forgetting about it, and the other is to say, okay, what have I learned that I can bring into the present moment, so that like the practice of pausing and reflecting and being here allows us to sort of gather the wisdom that can help us, in the next thing.
Exactly. And that's what I've been finding. The more that I take that pause, I'm training that muscle so that I can then go into the next moment like filled with just so much excitement for what's to come and not
Mm.
really like thinking about worrying or doubt or any of those things because none of those feelings have any like room now that I'm aware of them, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's like, like even like 2020, like a lot of us are like, can't wait to see that in the rearview mirror. And there are lessons, right? So you've been writing a lot and blogging a lot about
Yes.
like lessons from a challenging year. And the
Yep.
only thing worse than a challenging year is a challenging year that you don't learn anything from,
Exactly.
right? Because then you're probably gonna have another one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you can learn from your lessons, then you can just create new possibilities, new outcomes. And there's always going to be lessons with those too, but like maybe they're not as hard, right? Because now you've kind of like trained that muscle and really look to learn something from each experience rather than trying to avoid it.
Which makes it easier to face future experiences, right? If you know that you have a pattern of embracing and learning from whatever, I tend, when I'm in that place, I tend to cringe less. Like, oh, someone wants to have a difficult conversation with me. I was inelegant. I was thoughtless. Like, oh, I would want to avoid that conversation. Like, maybe I'll move to another country and change my name. Right. As opposed to maybe I got something to learn here and I'm going to come out of this better and stronger and I can be grateful for some discomfort.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've like mastered the discomfort of 2020 and I'm just like so excited for now and beyond. You know, I just feel on a collective level, on a individual level, like I just feel so much stronger from last year that I have no expectations. I'm literally just like, okay, like I'm gonna do this in this now moment, and if something else doesn't come out of this or whatever, like, oh well, like I'm here doing the experience and helping others and helping them navigate their experiences, and it's just like it just brings me so much joy even when I might have a challenging feeling, because I know that like there's a reason that I'm going through this right now, and I can remind myself over and over.
Yeah. And the second thing that brings up for me is, so not many people know this because I don't tell people this, but in 2005, I studied at the Monkey Bar Gym in Madison, Wisconsin, and became a level 1 certified natural trainer. And and it was great stuff, like the best stuff I've ever seen for sort of rehab and like whole body. Like it was this form of yoga that they had sort of perfected for partners, and all this like just really great stuff. And then that was 15 years ago, and I've totally forgotten about it. Like, I've had back pain, I have mobility issues. I totally forgot that I had this incredible resource, John and Jesse Hines, who were my teachers. And then Colin Campbell came out with a book last week, a new book, which I got and started reading. And then there's a footnote on page 279 or something mentioning John Hines in the Monkey Bar Gym. And I'm like, oh, wow, I wonder if John knows about this. So I email him and he says, well, wow, I didn't know. Like, what's going on? How you doing? Hey, all our classes are online now. I'm like, oh, wow. Like, I don't have to drive to Madison, Wisconsin. So I signed up for their online gym. And the thing with them is everything's got to be perfect form. Otherwise, like, why bother? And so if I'm doing push-ups, I kind of want to get them done. I'm going to do 20 push-ups. I am kind of looking forward to finishing the 20th push-up. Like, just get it done. And the way they're working me is, no, at the top of each push-up, I now have to think about, all right, shoulder blades separate and down the back. And like every moment, it's either, like if I'm just doing the exercise, I'm kind of wasting my time. Mm-hmm. Whereas if I'm doing it really slowly and consciously at every moment, I'm like, okay, now what am I thinking about here? Oh, I forgot about, belly button to back of spine. I forgot about extending the neck. I forgot about the breathing. Like there's an infinitude of awareness that I am invited to have during the simple act of a push-up or a squat or a chin-up.
Hmm. Wow. I mean, and that's kind of what I've been going through with all of my exercises is like if you've ever heard about Iyengar yoga,
Mm.
and they kind of talk about like in the when you're in the pose, like you're thinking about what's happening in the pose. So by practicing that, like I had started applying to that in all ways of life, even like getting out of the bed, right? Like if you get out of the bed, like, oh, I got to get out of the bed, like maybe your entire day is resulting around the way that you got out of the bed. But like if you stop and like, all right, I'm getting out of the bed now and I get to like do this thing, it like changes the way your entire day flows just off of the thoughts and the things that you're thinking about in that very moment.
Hmm. Yeah, and it can be hard to bring that awareness to a place where it's never been before. To like, stumbling out of the bed, cursing the cold, cursing my bladder, like wishing, like my orientation towards the first 10 minutes of the day is I wish they didn't exist, kind of.
Yeah.
Um,
But I think just like, like for me, like I've been really wanting to be that support for others of like the more that I remind myself, the more I can remind others. And I can then like we can just plant those seeds for everyone, right? Because I mean, it's hard sometimes to do it on our own, but when we create this collective, movement of really maintaining this level of awareness during the present moment, we can really change the way our days, our futures, all look, not just individually, but for the entire world. So that's really been so powerful in my life is just sharing it with others. Even if I teach a swim lesson, like we're stopping and taking a breath and really being aware of where we are right now. Because a lot of times people will bring their past moments into this present moment.
hmm.
And it can really kind of like keep you on that same path. So like really today's, message is just about like become aware of your present moments and really, and it doesn't even have to be like, you don't have to think about the past, just right now, think about how your day's gone, what it's doing, and that can just bring awareness to all things, whether it's a workout or just going outside, seeing the rain, it can really change the way you look at life and just how life looks back at you.
Yeah, and I find that for me the quickest way in is through body sensation.
The fast assessment. That's like how it really started for me. Was really like becoming aware of those feelings, in within the body.
Yeah, because I can't remember who said it, but sort of like life is basically your experience of life is basically your sensations. Like everything else is interpretation. Like life flowing through you is what your body feels. And
Exactly.
in our community, like there's a lot of energy around living a long time, right? Like we want like what food's going to help me live longer, and what exercise, what's the best exercise for longevity, and is walking better or running, is high intensity or gentle stuff, like all that. And like there's a point at which I say like wouldn't it be just as good or better to like be present for the life we've got? like I'm sort of like ignoring the present in favor of when I'm in my 80s or something, as opposed to like if I can remember about 3 hours of high school. you know I was in that building for 3 fucking years. Like 40, 45, 50 hours a week in that building. I remember when Jeff Barry held me upside down by my ankle. Right? I remember the final Fiddler on the Roof performance when I was in the orchestra. And I think I remember Katie Kemp smushing chocolate cake into my beard in 10th grade because I made a crack about her hair. And I think that might be it.
But it's fascinating how the mind like captures these moments that we replay. It just depending on our present moment. Like the moments that we replay over and over in our minds that have kind of like created some kind of trauma within us, you know, like those are the ones that make the mark, which is fascinating. And then we go on life having other experiences that maybe we don't like, but then we're not thinking about what are we thinking in the present moment. You know, I've really been studying Joe Dispenza, and he really talks about this idea of reprogramming the mind, where essentially like you're really becoming aware of the thoughts that you're thinking, and you're knowing that those thoughts that you're thinking are going out and being created, and the frequency, the sensations that you're feeling in your body are now going to allow that to be a radio frequency, you know, that you could tune in and attract it into your reality based on what you're feeling, you know?
Yeah, and it's interesting because, you know, there's something in psychology called wise interventions, which are like short, like an hour, 2 hours, like very, very time limited, but can have positive effects years later because they change your trajectory a little bit, and that starts to feed on itself like a positive feedback loop instead of a negative feedback loop. And as you're talking about like these early traumas, and they don't have to be that big, like me getting, you know, it was kind of funny to get the cake in my face, but obviously it's kind of stuck with me. So like, I don't know how that programmed me. What, you know, did it make me more cautious? Did it make me shyer with girls? Did it make, you know, like, so to think about now, all right, so that's back in my mind. What can I do with that as a wise intervention? How can I reintegrate that experience fully, be present for it, and not kind of like check out like I probably did then, like a sort of embarrassment because it was in a 10th grade English party. Right. So there was certainly a part of me that must have like broken off and like gone to hide somewhere. Like can I bring that back? And right. Like trying to think of what I'm thinking about here. It's almost like welcome that child home. That 15-year-old has sort of been in exile. And whenever any situation comes up that reminds me of that, there's some way in which that 15-year-old takes charge to protect me.
Yeah.
Right. So kind of welcome it home.
Yeah. Exactly. And one thing that I've been doing to observe versus react, right? Because sometimes like when we have these things that kind of remind us, we could maybe react versus, you know, observing. So I've been like stopping, taking a breath, you know, really understanding what's happening right now, and then sending it unconditional love. Because I feel like when we can really like emanate unconditional love, like it's just this love that we're surrounding all parts of ourselves, knowing that all is well. You know, we don't have to judge ourselves anymore. We don't have to have these like ideas or these narratives that we've created over and over. And the more that we can just have this unconditional love, it really changes the way that we can look at ourselves and others over time.
Yeah, and that feels like a high bar for me sometimes, but I sometimes aim for unconditional, don't be an asshole to myself. Like kind of a first step. Like I would never treat anybody else the way I treat myself sometimes. Right? Like they would
at least, yeah.
They would have to have done something pretty terrible for me to be that mean to them.
Exactly. Yeah. But it is fascinating. Like, but then it's like maybe it is teaching you something, right, about yourself that now you can kind of switch, and going forward, you can love yourself even more after that, you know, just by recognizing it, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. So instead of saying, well, I'm going to love myself as long as I don't think about that embarrassing time or that thing I did, but to incorporate it and say, okay, look, human being, made a mistake, painful one, and I'm moving forward. Like that's love worthy.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think the more that we do this within ourselves, we're gonna see a shift happening within the collective. You know, of really just loving each other, no matter all parts. You know, just like understanding that we're all here for a reason, and we're here to really share our gifts and, you know, give out unconditional love. And I think the more that we can understand that within us, you know, it'll really help us moving forward.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All
I
right.
love it.
All right, I think that's a wrap. I got another call in 4 minutes. It was lovely reestablishing this ritual.
Exactly. And I hope to do it again sometime soon.
All right, how about same time next week?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, let's move forward.
Moving forward. Yes, cool.
All right.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.